Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. I wanted to try a personal welcome. It's my first time doing this, so I hope it goes all right. But this will be a demonstration of this painting right here. It's a small painting I did of a woman on some steps in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. Kind of a depressing scene in a way. She looks a little hopeless and uh, demonstrating some despair, and so it's not a real colorful, happy painting. I ended up doing mostly grays in it and struggled a little bit with this, but I think it'll be instructive for you, hopefully, just to show you the techniques to try to overcome some of the mistakes that I and a lot of us make in watercolor. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Okay, so after that award-winning introduction, I'm going to explain this demo to you. See the photograph that I used as a reference on this. It's a black and white photograph. And here's the paper I painted on. It's a hot press paper, which is different. The paint seems to stay on top a little bit more than it does on cold press or rough. These are the colors, kind of standard cool and warm colors that I've been using on other paintings that we've previously done together. I'm trying to keep the colors fairly simple, especially because this, as I mentioned in the introduction, is not a real lively painting with a lot of colors in it, more of a depressed gray tones throughout, which again I struggled with a little bit in this painting, as you'll see. The cold press is different in a way that I don't think the color diffuses the same way. It's nice in some respect because you can lift it a little bit easier than you can with other colors or other types of paper, but it wouldn't be my preference to use this paper all the time. I think sometimes for portraits or close-ups you can play with it a little bit longer than you can some other papers, and I like it for that reason. I don't do a lot of these figure paintings. It's a little bit out of what I'd say my comfort zone is, but it's fun to try different things now and then, and certainly this was one of those subjects where I was just groping to kind of find the right balance of color and still keep it within the mood of the painting. Once again, the paper is tilted a little bit so you can see the moisture, the water is running down, and at this stage I'm just putting a first wash on to more or less serve as a underpainting for the final stages of the painting. Obviously, whenever you do this, that first wash dries more than you think. I did try to mix in some warm and cool colors just to give it a little bit of interest and balance. I'm thinking at this point that maybe I'll leave a few areas white that, as you can see in the photograph down there in the corner, there are some very light values in that painting, and I thought I would maintain some of those. I didn't do a real good job of doing that, but at least that's what I'm thinking at this stage, to preserve some of that. The other colors that I had in the painting, I did a little bit of a test page that you saw briefly at the beginning, and obviously I grayed down all of those colors quite a bit by mixing them together. Again, there's the photo reference that you could see briefly. It's almost too small where I left it down there, but at least you have some idea of what I'm trying to follow. Trying to get some more warm tones into the face and the arm. This woman is kind of sitting there with her chin on her hand looking off, and it's hard to tell what she's thinking, but it doesn't look like it's a real happy thing, which is unfortunate, I think, in that I chose this. It's an interesting subject, yes, but certainly doesn't represent the kind of happiness and people that you meet down in Mexico. For the most part, they're all really fun-loving, active people. Starting to go darker now. Still trying to make it mid-tones, not my darkest, but certainly going darker than what I did with the first part of this painting. I think I'm following too closely the darks of the photograph. I think we all have a tendency to do that. If we see a dark, we tend to put it into the painting, but the painting, I think, would be better with less darks. And at the end of it, I do some lifting to try to salvage it. But here you can see I'm using, I think that's a neutral tint mixed in probably with some burnt sienna, a little bit of burnt sienna, and maybe a little bit of ultramarine, but mostly a dark gray tint there. Trying to get the basic shapes of the person established. It's always hard to get the tones on the face correct, where you have some of the contours of the face. I wasn't going to be very specific or try to be very specific with the facial features of this person, more with a suggestion than anything else. Continuing to work with that face area. I wanted at some point to establish some of the texture in the clothing that she was wearing, even though it was there's not much color in it. It does have some patterns in it. I tried to establish some of those. I was able to recover some of it towards the end of the painting too. You see people in San Miguel like this that are downtown. Some of them are just enjoying being outside. Others are trying to sell something or make a living. And I think she was just pausing on some steps near a building and resting more or less, just taking it easy. I kind of like the warmer yellow color that I put in here. Unfortunately, I didn't preserve a lot of that in the painting. Right now it doesn't fit with the rest of the painting, and I want to try to create some harmony by keeping the hues and the colors and some of the values together so that one part of it doesn't look completely out of place with the rest of it. And so I think of that as I go through the painting. Even though I like that yellow color in there, it just at this point does not seem to fit with the rest of the painting. So my usual approach is to go dark, which is never a real good idea to do that, but I keep repeating that same mistake a lot. It is a dark subject, though. It's not like springtime flower color feeling that you're trying to establish here. And here I'm trying to soften some edges, trying to take away maybe some of the effect of that dark, and I wanted some of the edges to just blend in. So I've just got a wet brush, and the painting is still somewhat wet in places. Hot press will dry faster than the other paintings, the other types of paper, and but it's still damp enough, and you almost have to scrub a little bit with some of the wet brushes to get some of that up. But that's the process that I'm going through the painting now, is trying to do that, reestablish some of the areas that I wanted to preserve. I like the lost edges on the left side of the painting. I think that is working reasonably well. I've still got some light areas, probably a little too light right below where I'm painting now, right below the arm and the foot. You can see part of her shoe there is awfully light. Those areas are, I think, not fitting in with the rest of the painting very well. But I think I try to correct that a little bit as we go along further with the painting. Blue tone looks nice there to the right of her head. So I cover it up with something else, of course, but adding a little bit of warmth and just trying to maintain the feeling of those gray colors. It's fairly intuitive at this point in the sense that I don't have a really good plan. I'm just looking at it. If I see an area that I don't like or I think it attracts too much attention, then I will change it. And you can see that I'm doing that now in some areas, putting a little bit different color in. Again, searching for some harmony without destroying the whole painting is kind of the goal here. Knock that light area below her hand and elbow back a little bit with a wash, and I think that helped a little bit. It's not as eye-catching as it was before. Starting to wrap up some of the painting. There are parts of it that I think are looking okay. That area I'm working on now obviously needs some work. That violet kind of color helped a little bit. Again, thinking that it did need a little bit more color, but putting that yellow in, not sure helped a whole lot. That will fade quite a bit as the painting dries. I'm adding some marks there to suggest a little bit of pattern or a little bit of texture in the clothing that she's wearing. Again, very kind of impressionistic on some of the clothes. Nothing very specific, just trying to suggest things. And even though I've probably overworked this, I'm trying to avoid the appearance of that. Right now, I would not like the yellow on the painting very much. If I could go into it at this point, I'd try to change some of that. Now I let it dry and then went back in and I'm lifting some of that out, and I think that did help a little bit on the dominance that I was seeing in the yellow. I think I might be adding a little bit of neutral tint. I can't tell if that's a wet brush or I think it's just a wet brush at this point, but I'm trying to reclaim a little bit of the light areas in the painting. So it has a better balance than it did before with some of those yellow areas. And again, I'm taking some of those out with the flat brush, lifting just so they're not as dominant, searching for some harmony in the painting. Not the best effort I've ever done on a portrait for sure, but it gives you some idea of how to use cold press and the lifting that can work on that to salvage some of the areas. It looks like I'm coming to an end here. Again, it was kind of a fun painting to do, even though it's not the lightest of subjects. And we'll get a final picture of it. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching.